Hello, welcome to the second material about painting the face of this demoness. As you can see I've worked a little on her face. So in the earlier material we were sketching the light placement on this side of the face, but I took my time and I finished the second part. So you can see that there is a difference, and in this material we want to finish this side of the face, just to show you how I've done it. So now let's proceed. As you can see that this sketch is very rough. We want just to blend it, and then we'll add some detail to her eye, also some eyebrows and different stuff. So I've prepared some colors that I will use just to paint skin tone and also to paint some makeup. This black, also here some mixes of violet and magenta, just to have some purple color. And now let's work. So first up, let's start with some deep shadows, maybe just to add some shadows to the places that are close to the helmet. Okay, and also close to her chin. Okay, and now let's start gradually highlighting, just making the transition, making it more smooth. So you can see that this color has more red in it, but it's very cool to add this color here. Also, as for the eyes, we want to make this highlight more gradual. We want to add roundness to this part, so I will add some color here just to make this transition more smooth, more delicate. Later on we will also glaze this part a little with violet, with mixes of purple, just to add some makeup. Okay, so now let's just blend it. Maybe let's focus on this part, because the bottom part is obscured by the hair. So you can see that I'm just taking more paint, more brighter paint, just to mix it on the miniature, and just a little on also just to mix it on the brush. Also, as you can see on the wet palette, I'm using the Kimera paints, and I experimented with them a little, and I tried to incorporate my approach to mixing colors. So you can see that I've prepared all the mixtures earlier, and it's easier for me just to jump around, always go back to the same color. I don't have to mix colors on the run when painting. I'm just using the pre-mixed colors. Must add some violet to those darker colors, just to make them less red, a little desaturated, more rosy. Sometimes when mixing the same color next day, you can make something a little different, so you can change it just when painting and seeing that it's not the same. So usually when painting, I'm just, for a long time it takes just to blend and place all the shadows in the right places, but when doing this right, then you can work fast on the highlights. Also, we have some decisions to make here, because when stretching the highlight in this part, maybe now it's visible, here we can make the face more white. If you would add more shadow here, then the face would look like it's thin. So we want to have this in mind when applying shadows and highlights, because we can change the geometry of the face. Okay, also we want to just work to add some definition to the eye. So we don't want too much shadow under her lower eyelid. Okay, so also at this stage, maybe even earlier, I can add some shadows here around the nose, and also some highlights here. Okay, some more shadows under her, close to her chin. Okay, so you can see that most of the part of the face that is closer to the helmet should be a little darker. We don't want to make it so bright because some of it is obscured by her helmet, some of it is obscured by by this horn. Also, when looking from this side, maybe it should be a little brighter, but when looking from the front, the face would be maybe too wide. So you want to take this into account. So now I will focus on just accenting her cheek. Also, we can work on this part because it's very important to make it brighter, not to accent this wrinkle, because if we separate this part from the face, from the lips, it would look very weird. We want to make it coherent. Okay, I'll switch to a smaller brush. In general, small and big brushes have their good size and good sides and bad sides. Mostly because the bigger brush takes more paint and has more moisture, and the smaller brush just doesn't hold that much water in it, but also you need to refill it more often, and also the surface that you are covering with this brush is smaller, so it's more time consuming to paint with a smaller brush, but also it's a more accurate way. You can be more precise with it. So as I told you that there are some good sides and bad sides of painting with small and big brushes. So you can see that it's maybe a slow work, but later on we will add some more detail to the eye, so it will look more interesting. Now it's a little flat and too small. We want to make it a little wider, so it's important just to shade this part, even with the darker skin color, to separate the eyebrow. Okay, so now it looks a little better. Also, just under her helmet there won't be that much light as it was, as it will be on her, under her eye, under her cheek, because the helmet obscures the light source. So we can see that it's slowly getting more smooth. We're blending the surface. Okay, let's jump to the brighter color. So at this point we can start showing this part, maybe the skin stretched on her nose, so here there will be more highlight. Yeah, and also we can just combine this part here with the nose, and also here we can make it a little brighter. So here close to the eye there is a spot that should be just brighter. So in this place here you can trace a triangle, something like this. Here will be the main part of the highlight on her face. Okay, just to maybe work on this part just a little more, just to show it. And so we can start adding highlights here. Okay, now let's work on the bright highlights. As you can see that I added more yellow to the highlights and also to the parts of the mid-tone. It will be obscured a little with the strong additions of white at the finish, but mixing skin colors by your own is very cool because you can change some colors on the palette. So in my case the shadows are mixed with violet and the midtones are mixed more with red, and the highlights are mixed mostly with yellow. And we can switch the proportions, so we can generate different skin tones, different feeling on the miniature, and it's especially you can use it when making it coherent with the atmosphere, with other color choices of the whole paint job. So I encourage you to do it. Of course, having pure pigment colors is more beneficial for this, because they are just better to mix. But of course it can be done with different paints. Okay. I want to maybe use some darker color, maybe something like this, just to accent this part, because we've covered it a little with the brighter tones. Here there is a skin fold, the skin is stretched on the nose, so it generates something like this. Okay, just to make the blend more smooth. And now let's start working with more highlight. So as I mentioned it earlier, it's important just to show this part, and just to make it brighter. Also here, at this point, we can accent just a little the lower eyelid. It will be more visible when we paint the small hair of her eyelashes. And as you can see that the skin tone is beginning to look not that yellow but more bright white, so that's what we want. the line of highlight on her nose is too sharp, so I made the transition a little more smooth. Okay, now let's start just to work with this color. Okay, so you can see that, but by comparison, this side of the face, the transition here is lighter, so you can maybe make this part not that deep. Sometimes it's more visible when you just keep on adding highlights. Then some parts maybe are too deep, so we can fix it just a little, just to make this part more brighter. It will be visible, but we don't want to over-exaggerate. Also, if you think this part is too maybe too yellow, you can add some red to the skin tone, just to achieve more rosy flesh. Also take into account that adding red to a bright color will darken it a little. So red is somewhere in the middle when it comes to brightness, but if you add colors like violet, blue, they will naturally shade the color, so without the addition of black. But if you add something like red, it will keep it more into the mid-tone, and yellow will just add brightness. So, of course, to a point, but this also can be used when mixing colors. Okay, so as you can see that I've started just to highlight here, just to make this part of the face more soft. So, as mentioned earlier, probably a few times, it's always good to having had those parts, like here, this line, here, this highlight, also here, should be the brightest on the face. In the case of this miniature, of course, we don't have her forehead, because also her forehead should be bright, but this will be achieved when painting the helmet. Okay, you can mark a little more separation here, but we want to keep this line very delicate. So I added something more darker, but I'm hiding it a little right now. Okay, and now let's start adding probably almost white, but I must mix a little of it, so you can see that it's not pure white, it's just something in the middle. If you want big contrast, we want to add more white to the skin. And in some places, when I've painted this miniature, I used pure white, just to have focus points for the viewer to see. And in some places I won't use even big parts of those highlights. Probably some places of the skin tone were just highlighted to this, because I didn't want them to focus the attention of the viewer. We can, of course, use this to our advantage. We can think about what we want to show on the miniature, what is the key element, what is the part that is telling a story, and we want to show those parts on the miniature. The rest we can use as background, just to maybe allow the audience to find those places, but not instantly focus on them. So we can do this by using colors, but also light value. Just to blend it a little more. Okay. And now let's add just pure white. Especially in this place. Also here, in this place. So you can see that, as mentioned earlier, the most focus will be on this part. Not here, not here. Wants to show her the highlights under her eyes. Because when we look at photos of people, when we look at people from in our surrounding, most of the time when the light is placed from above, then those places will attract and catch more light. Okay, so this part, let's say it's finished, but we also need to add small amounts of highlight here. Just not that strong, but just a little more. Okay, maybe just a little more. Okay, and now let's fix the transition because it's too rough. Okay, so it's almost blended. Maybe just a little here. Okay, so now we want to add some details to the eye, because you can see that it's a big difference between those two. The sculpt is, the eye is not that wide, not that open, so we can maybe boost the feeling, just to change it a little. So for this, at first we can use black, and for this side I've decided that I will extend the eyebrow, because you can see that it's ending here, but maybe she has some makeup, and I have extended eyebrow just to here. It's face paint, but it boosts the sharpness of the eye, and just shows maybe the shape of the nose. And I've searched for some photos of makeup, and I found something like this. I think it works for this face. Also, the next thing that we want to show is a dark line just here, so it also marks the shape of the upper eyelid. And here we can add some eyelashes. Yeah. So let's start doing it. One thing that we want to fix. Maybe let's start from this. So we want to make the upper eyelid to be more visible. So you can see that I've separated it from the forehead, but also I will add highlights to the upper eyelid, so to show it, because now it's too dark. So at this point we can extend it a little. So to do something like this. So this will widen the eye. Okay. Maybe just also okay. The next thing that we want to do is to add some shadows and maybe to separate this part. Okay, if you maybe go out, maybe hit the wrong spot, then we can always go back and fix the skin tone just a little. Okay, some small fixes to her eye. some diluted paint we can add a little eyeshadow. So here we want to mark the eyelashes. So it's a little too sharp. We can fix it. So you can see that it adds more white to the eye. It's not that closed right now, and also it should be done delicately, so we can also add, maybe make it even more thin. Just try to accent the shape of the lower eyelid. You can use dots, you can use small brush strokes. This will generate the feeling of hair. Okay, so now let's start working on the eyebrow. So when looking at this, we know that we should start something somewhere here, and around here it should end, maybe the main part of it, so we can if you don't hit the right spots, no worry. You can use some skin tone just to fix it later on. And here there would be rounds to this place. For such delicate work, it's better to use a small brush. Also, to paint with diluted paint, because it's more it's easier to operate with, yeah? It's more fluid, but also smaller brushes don't hold that much moisture, so it won't flow so that it can be used just to draw very, very thin lines. Okay, something like this. Okay, so now when we can use some skin tone just to make it more thin, because maybe this one is too thick compared to the other one, and we can refine the shape, but it's mostly done. I'm just fixing the shape. Okay, so you can see that the face is finished. We've blended the transitions and added some details to the eyes, and now we can focus on finishing more parts of the miniature.